welcome back to Card Arts Weekly Pioneer. I'm still here, Brandon Chen, and still joined by Optimus Tom, and we're about to head into our next round.
Yeah, we have two players who are no strangers to this stream. We have Charles going to be playing his 5-color land style deck with a bit of combo in there in and of his own, but his opponent's going to be on Quintorius Combo, and that's Matt Zhu, the quote-unquote stream ender, playing a combo deck of his own.
Mr. Stream Ender Matt Jew. Notably, he's told me that he doesn't have a good win rate on stream, so...
That's true. As I say, so Matt, grinder in the area, obviously very competitive, told us earlier this year that his goal was to make the Pro Tour. And he's definitely going to be one of those players that wants to be on stream and winning as much as possible. And unfortunately, every single time we've seen him so far, he has lost in our feature match area.
Yep, and looks like we have a really fast start from Charles this side. His Boreal Grazer into a conflict. Was it Mana Confluence?
Yep. So Charles's deck is basically going to be trying to play. It's like the 4-color Omnath pile style. His deck in general is going to be playing a lot of different landfall synergies. He has all these Streets of New Capenna fetch lands, which will sacrifice, gain him some life, and get my fingers a workout for the life total counter. But most importantly, he's going to be playing Lotus Cobras, he has Nissa, he has Omnath, and then Lumra, which is going to basically be the combo of finding a Port of Carfell eventually off of Lumra or Aftermath Analyst, looping that back and forth, and bringing back Lumras and Omnaths to just eventually kill somebody for an infinite amount of damage.
Yeah, meanwhile, Matt's on Quintorius Combo. I believe you're no stranger to the combo. How well does it, or what are we looking at here?
So Matt is going to be playing an interesting ramp-ish strategy of his own. I mean, we have like the channel and discard for ramp spells like that, like we see the Beanstalk Giant in his graveyard now. Those cards are basically going to be ramping him up to playing that Quintorius Kand he has in hand. Quintorius Kand is then going to minus to discover, and the only targets in his deck will be things that can clone Quintorius Kand, and then eventually will drain Charles for hopefully enough damage if Charles is not gaining a ton of life.
Yeah, notably, I believe this combo does have a damage cap. Do you know what that cap is, or I guess we can probably think about it.
For the Quintorius deck?
Yes.
The Quintorius deck is interesting because it all depends on what order you hit your spells in. Like if you Quintorius Kand and then find your 4 spark doubles, each quint is going to be draining for 2. You have 5, so that's 10. And then you're eventually going to wind up playing your Release to the Winds, which will be a spell to cast, and then you recast the quint, so that's another 18 off of that. So the deck can deal 56 damage pretty easily.
So a little bit of luck needs to go Matt's way. Looks like
see treasure and no map.
looks like a Get Loss is coming down on something of Matt's, I believe.
We'll have to see because
Yep.
it was a get lost on one of Charles's own things. It looks
Oh.
like on his own a Boreal Grazer.
Oh, gotta get those map tokens to find those land drops.
That might be it. I mean, the Nissa is also a very powerful piece of this puzzle because every single card in Charles's deck is either an elf or an elemental. So that means that this Nissa Resurgent Animist is going to constantly trigger and will always hit something, so long as you're dropping lands in play. It also is part of the combo of Landfall because that adding 1 extra mana to your mana pool doesn't stop after the first use. So if you play a Lumra or an Aftermath Analyst, bring back a bunch of those Streets of New Capenna fetch lands and find a bunch of basics, you're getting double the amount of mana just from an active Nissa on the battlefield.
And it looks like Matt casts a Leyline Binding there, only to be interrupted by a Soul Mortician. And looks like there's another Leyline Binding on the stack that we just hit with this Explore trigger on the stack for Nissa.
Yeah, so it does look like that Matt is eventually going to get that Leyline Binding. And is that that's a Lotus Field on Charles's side? That's a little bit new.
Oh, I don't think I believe I've seen that from Charles's deck before. Look, it seems like it has pretty good synergy with his list, like being able to reanimate it and put more lands in the yard.
Yeah, I mean, normally sacrificing lands at Lotus Field is a detriment unless you're playing like the tap-untap style Lotus Field combo. But Charles's deck will wind up being able to recur those lands at some point, whether it be with Aftermath Analyst or Lumra. Whereas on the side of Matt Zhu, he doesn't really care if Charles is going to be playing normal things on the battlefield, no matter how much mana he has, so long as next turn he's able to resolve that Quintorius he has in hand.
Ooh, looks like Charles actually might have to get a tap land here because he played a Lotus Field from his Fable Passage, which might slow him down. And Matt is currently holding up 3 mana to cast that Leyline Binding that was exiled by Soul Partition.
Yeah, the one thing that the Quintorius deck does is hit Domain pretty easily by playing all these Triomes. Matt's also on the Karuga version, which basically is every Quintorius deck, because you don't want to have anything that is higher than 4 mana cost for Quintorius' minus discoverability anyway. So you basically get Karuga as a companion for free, so that means that you're hitting Domain really easily by playing tapped Triome Pass, because the only other spells you really have are split spells like Bedazzle for a kill spell.
And I'm thinking about something here. Notably, we do know that he has the combo next turn. So we have, he has a Quint in his hand. Probably thinking about if he wants to put a Leyline Binding on this base.
That's fine.
This Beza synergy is also interesting because by using the Lotus Field, Charles is now down on lands. So that means that Charles is actually going to get a treasure token off of this. He's also going to draw a card because Matt has more cards in hand than he does. The only thing that he's not getting off of this Beza is the life and... Oh, looks like actually... Sorry, I had the life totals flipped. Looks like Matt is actually the one at 19. So Charles actually did wind up going back up.
Probably not dead.
And here comes the namesake card, Quintorius.
Minus.
Let's see if it's in the cards for Charles here, and Matt whiffing on really to the win.
So there's a Spark Double.
Spark double.
So that's going to put Charles down to 18 and Matt up to 21. And this is the combo. So you Spark Double, that creates another copy of Quintorius. Now you have a release to the winds. You're probably going to wind up bouncing your original Quintorius.
Spark double, drain you 4.
And then you kind of go to the races here. So every single one of these spells is now draining for 4. So Charles is going to be down to 14, which means that you either need 1 more Spark Double and an additional spell, or 2 more spells in order to kill him.
Looks like Charles seems pretty dead here. Let's see if... I don't know, Matt has some weird ratios. Looks like here's another Spark Double. 4 drain.
Minus a sword.
Matt actually gained a lot more life off of that. I was busy changing Charles's life total. And now 1 more hit, which is guaranteed as long as Matt didn't accidentally forget the rest of his cards.
Six drain, and if Matt has any
this one
hits
is a
left in
plus.
his deck,
Don't read anything into this.
he's got a plus. Don't read
So,
anything
I'm not
into this. He says, uh-oh.
Oh, because he has a Spark Double in hand.
Ahead.
So he doesn't have the last one in his deck. That's the fizzle rate of this Quintorius deck. Oh, I guess that you has the stream unluck again.
Well, we'll see if Charles can gain enough life before Matt casts another spell from exile.
Yeah, I got punted this game.
Or attacks him with that 3-2.
Say, but the Beza's on the battlefield. Beza, so if Quintorius dies, you can still copy one of your Spark Double copies of it from your hand. So Charles either needs like a way to wipe 4 planeswalkers off the face of the earth, or to combo kill this turn. And Charles does have 6, potentially 7 mana at this point, so you could wind up having some sort of Lumra loop happening. You could also wind up having a Nissa in hand, and then Aftermath Analyst, pop the Aftermath Analyst, and then go to the races.
We do know that Matt has a Carnosaur in his hand. So that is indeed a way to cast another spell from exile.
Oh, okay. So it looked like, unfortunately, we had the camera freeze again. We'll look into jiggling the cable again in just a second. But so we saw Charles take 1 damage off this mana confluence. So that does mean that there's a Lumra coming down here. He's going to get back a bunch of these streets and do Capenna fetch lands, though. So that's going to put him back up to 4. But all these lands are coming into play tap because there's one key piece missing from Charles's deck, which is Splunking. And without Splunking, these lands don't come into play on tap, and he has to scoop it up because Matt has the kill.
Yeah.
I should have. I was debating. I should have released the
Alright,
wind
let's listen in.
my
Oh.
line binding end of your turn.
Oh, okay.
In case I hit the land.
Matt talking about how he can release the wind his ley
So I
line
have, like, one
binding
more spell I can cast from
to
exile.
try and get some
There was just
additional interaction in. And what do you think these players will bring in for the sideboard matchup?
So at this point in time, I think that as far as Charles's deck goes, Charles's deck is going to be one of the decks that is a little bit better off as far as the sideboard goes for this matchup. Charles is going to be able to leverage the fact that he has a multicolored deck and take into any sort of leyline binding or exile type effects that he can have. We also saw that in the main deck he had access to copies of Get Lost. Any extra ones of those are most likely going to be coming in because you're going to want to have to deal with the Quintorius Kand after it minuses, because if you get rid of the Quintorius that's on the battlefield when the Discover ability is activated, Spark Double will come into play with no Quintorius to copy, and so that's one way to kind of hiccup Matt for a turn until he plays another Quintorius or something. So a lot of those removal spells, we could also maybe see some more like on the stack interaction. We saw Soul Partition from Charles in game number 1 as well. That'll probably wind up staying in for the time being, but we do know that Charles's deck could have access to Counter Magic being a blue-based deck as well. Obviously, a lot of the cards in the deck are green, but we do have Risen Reef as part of the core of the deck. So if green is like the big capital G in the 5 color, the U is like the next color next to the, maybe with the white as well.
So sounds like we're looking for some, money pile interaction, just a little bit more counterspell and removal. And what do you think will be coming in from Matt's side? Because I'm not too familiar with the sideboards of these decks.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be a ton. I mean,
You can only play so much.
You're going to wind up trying to get your combo off as quickly as possible. The one thing I could see Matt bringing in is if he doesn't think that he needs to. If he needs to get more interaction, we already saw the leyline bindings in the main deck, so we know that those are there. But if you feel like you need to deal with Nissa or Risen Reef a little bit more, we may wind up seeing like those copies of Bedeck Bedazzle coming in, because that is just technically it's an 8 mana cost split card, but the front side of the Bedeck is, I think it's the 2 Rakdos split card where it gives something like +3, -3. So you can kill a Nissa, you can kill the Risen Reef, you can, if Charles plays a naked Aftermath Analyst without having the mana to pop it immediately, that's Matt's way to disrupt Charles's combo.
I also believe the sideboard of those decks run, was
at
it
least we
Spatial
live closer.
Contortion? Sometimes?
That's like another one of those effects where it's kind of... well, Spatial Contortion would be a 2 mana spell, right?
Or not Spatial Contortion, the Thought Contortion?
Thought Distortion.
It's the one that discards all the counter spells, or all non-land.
So one of those things that's interesting
I
is
think Mill was
having
actually not, like, a terrible choice.
discarding all non-lands
It's
seems
not.
really good against Charles's
I
deck,
think he's more
but
comfortable
if
with
you
Mill as
discard Lumra and you're able to like have a Port of Carfel on the battlefield, or if Charles has a Port of Carfel in hand that follows up afterwards, Matt is enabling his combo to win the game. So it's going to be a little bit rough. We'll see if he wants to put those in, as it looks like the players have all shuffled up and we're jumping into game 2.
All right. Oh, is that a World Tree from Charles this side?
Oh yeah, so Charles's deck is going to be playing the World Tree so that all of his lands can tap for any color of mana once he winds up hitting the I think it's 6 lands or something like that from the World Tree in order to get the threshold off. The one thing that Charles will not be doing, unfortunately, is finding gods off of the World Tree, because I don't think he's running any of them unless he has like a cheeky Clothis in the sideboard, which is not for this matchup.
Who knows? Maybe Leyline of Transformation on God.
You could. You never know. They could turn everything into a god. And you
Yeah.
could just search for it. Maybe
Exactly.
Duncan has infected everybody at the start.
I mean, Leyline transformation on Elemental and Charles' deck would be kind of cool, but
Well, I mean, everything in his deck is already an elemental or an elf,
that's fair,
so.
that's fair.
So this is a key card that Charles was missing from last game, and if he wound up having this splunking on the battlefield in that final turn, the Lumra would have really popped off.
Yeah, Splunking's a very powerful card. It's able to turn all those tap lands into untapped lands. And we see here Matthew off to the races, ramping with his Beanstalk Giant.
So Fertile Footsteps finding a land. That's presenting Quintorius next turn, even though Charles was the one to go first. But this Nissa could maybe do some things here. If we have a fetch land, or if we have a Fabled Passes from Charles' side, that'll generate 2 mana in addition to finding a land, and then finding a... Oh, no, Charles doesn't have a follow-up land.
So we'll see if Matt Jew, well-known stream ender, ends the stream here.
Wait, is that a land on the top of Charles' hand?
Not sure.
Interesting. I'm not entirely sure what the decision would be to not play a land at that point, but it does look like that Matt just doesn't have land of his own, so he's just going to use the ability on this Armadillo. It's going to discard, find a land, put it into the battlefield, gain 3 life. But yeah, so neither player having the combo in their hands, but having some enablers available.
Matt discarding a Carnosaur to just get rid of the Nissa. Notably, Carnosaur, Trumpeting Carnosaur, not only a combo piece for his deck, but also a very nice 3-mana removal spell. And Charles hitting the land here after the missing a land drop, but we'll see if he can live if Matt has a Quintorius, which he does in his hand.
If Matt is just free to spin the wheel here, that'll be a little bit scary. Charles keeping up 1 forest doesn't mean that he can leyline binding or anything because there's no domain and that world tree is not active yet. So it looks like at this point Matt has a spark double in hand as well. So
So he's missing damage again, I believe.
I don't think he has the Quintorius though, because if you have Quintorius, I'm pretty sure you just snap it off into just open forest. Oh, well he has leyline binding, and now Charles doesn't want that.
You want mine?
Maybe that was another multicolored card that I misread as a Quintorius. He's thinking here.
Matt is really thinking. So things that Matt could be thinking about here is, do I get rid of this Nissa? That's one thing. Do I spark double the Nissa? Is that even possible? That's a great question.
Not sure. Also, he's probably thinking if he can get rid of the Splunking, because that seems to be a pretty strong card in Charles's combo.
Now, unfortunately, Spark Double is a creature or planeswalker that you control.
Oh my god, you're 21.
He's looking at the live totals.
All right, so if he's doing math here, it might be that Quintorius is in hand alongside the other Spark Double, and if he sideboarded out any of the Release to the Winds or Spark Doubles, that might be what he's considering. Oh, he has 2 Spark Doubles in hand.
Oh no.
So if he minuses into his Release to the Winds, he might not be able to kill Charles, is what he's thinking.
Yeah. Notably, he does have 6 lands now and another Trumpeting Carnosaur. Oh, discarding it. Interesting, because I know with this deck you can also start off a Carnosaur and then try to combo off there by getting a bunch of Carnosaurs into play.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can do the play Trumpeting Carnosaur, Spark Double your Carnosaur, Spark Double your Carnosaur, and you can either go into Release to the Winds, Spark Double, or Quintorius Kand off of the Carnosaur. But it looks like now Matt might just be pulling the trigger and going for the Quintorius Kand, thinking that, okay, I didn't wind up, maybe he drew a Release to the Wind, so now he's like, I have at least a 2 hit rate on my Spark Double. Oh, okay, so he found the Release to the Winds off the top.
And Charles, now that he has the mana up, can just removal spell it. He gets 2 maps though. for his Carnosaur that's in his hand. But yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice there of doing it when Charles had the open mana as opposed to pulling the trigger when Charles had nothing. I think Matt was just a little afraid of his fail rate coming from that Quintorius Kand, and if he wanted to get rid of the Nissa and discard his Carnosaur, because now he doesn't have the Carnosaur available, so there's no backup plan of I'm going to play a bunch of dinosaurs as an army.
All right. Well, Charles still seems stuck on lands here. Might be limiting what he can do. Oh, here comes a Reclamation Sage on a map. That's kind of weird. Oh, plays Lotus Field and sacrifices some lands. Going ever farther from that 6-land threshold for the World Tree right here.
The meanest value Reclamation Sage possible. All right, so second Quintorius Kand.
Alrighty.
Interestingly enough, though, Charles, he played that Lotus Field. It should be untapped.
This is gonna drain you too.
Oh, looks like a miss.
Cast this again.
Because they may, I'm not sure the ruling on this, if they can enter, he can choose to enter it tapped, but yeah, it should be untapped. And you would want it to be untapped most of the time. Alright, Matt just going through the motions.
So he has 2 Spark Doubles in hand.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a Spark Double here. That'll put Charles down to... Okay, Charles is at 16 on the life total counter instead of the 17 or the 18 that I had him at before. So this will be Discover into second Spark Double, which then, assuming that Matt has no other release to the winds in his deck, that's it. That's Matt's entire
This is a plus.
combo. Yeah, Matt's going to plus here.
Go. What the heck?
Notably, I believe if what was Quint's minus? It's like 7 or something.
Oh, geez, I don't think I ever thought of Quintorius. I barely remember what Quintorius Kand's +1 did. It's a -6.
So notably, he can ult this next turn, which will allow him to cast a bunch of cards from his yard. Or that exile, so it will trigger Quintorius, which is quite nice for Matt to maybe push through the last bit of damage.
That will give him a Trumpeting Carnosaur from his graveyard if he so chooses. All right, so does have to block because Charles does not want that Quintorius Kand copy minusing, but Charles is a little bit stuck here. Has 6 mana available, but Lumra alone won't really finish the job here for him. It looks like, I mean, Nissa number 3 would be great, maybe an Aftermath Analyst or something, but it looks like just might be the Elemental after all. Oh!
That's Night of Autumn coming through.
I'm just going to gain 4 instead.
Oh, okay.
And I'll
All right, so Charles is trying to gain some life, maybe just buffering his life total a little here at this point.
And then adding Yorion to hand with the rest of the mana will to end his turn. So we'll see here if what Matt wants to do with his, I believe, a lot of red mana from his Quintorius Kand ult.
Yeah, so it would be any number of target cards from your graveyard. You get a red for each of the exiled cards, and then you may play those cards. So Matt has 8 in his graveyard right now. The release to the winds from his graveyard would actually be really good because then he could cast those
Make 2.
and then recast something from exile. Because that would be...
Let's see here.
That's 2 triggers per release to the wind, right?
Add red for each card
Because they're
exiled.
exiled,
Yeah.
and then recasting the spell is 1 trigger, so that's 6 per, and then
9 red.
I guess that just leaves Charles one
Is he
one
able
short.
to exile the Spark Double?
I believe he can. Yeah, it's just
Okay,
target
'cause
cards.
it's exile. It does. Yeah, okay. Because you don't need to choose the targets until. Okay. Interesting.
All right, so he just replays Spark Double, makes another copy of Quintorius Kand. That's played from exile. That's 4 life drained. Then he gets 6 per drain. He has 2 release to the winds, which is 12 right there. But
Yeah.
Carl should be dead.
All right, Matt, just doing the math, seeing if he can do it. Oh, here comes a Carnosaur. Oh, he might not have enough blue for the release to the winds.
Oh, he only has 1 blue source. That's unlucky.
All right.
You can map for it.
All Alright, let's see what this Carnosaur rolls into. Oh, here's Quintorius.
Okay, so now we have an extra Quintorius Kand. So this is Cast from Exile. That's going to be a 4 damage drain.
Oh, actually, you know what can happen is he can release 2 wounds his Carnosaur and then get an additional, and then cast it again, and then maybe cast another one?
I think
Let's
you
see
just
here.
released to the winds your one of your creatures at this point. Like, you release to the winds your Carnosaur, yeah. Okay, well, he just has another
Yeah,
Carnosaur from
another
Exile.
Carnosaur.
43.
Yeah, and then he still has the release to the winds exiled as well, but whatever he hits off this Carnosaur is another exile spell.
I believe
And there it
there's
is.
another Quintorius, yes.
Yep, so that's dead.
I had
Dead.
a release in the. Both
All
releases
right.
were on the castle.
That Jew taking it. Improving his
I
abysmal win
bought
rate
him
on
the spark
stream.
double. My next 2 draws are
So
spark
much
doubles. I was
for
like,
the stream ender. I guess maybe it's more taken literally as to
I
the
was trying to
fact
do
that
the
he's
math,
the one
and I
that's
was
winning.
I had
Yeah.
a,
Ending other people's stream appearances.
Yeah.
trying to kill your nest